indeed a raid happening here at the Johannesburg Correctional Facility, also known popularly as Sun City, where officials, a number of officials, I think counted hundreds, who are now, holding, dogs and actually leading a raid here. I want to show you what's happening here behind me, Koli. As you can see, the inmates being lined up against the walls here. Their bodies are being searched, and the officials actually searching inside the prison as well. And so, Koli, indeed, this raid happens at the back of the TikTok video that an inmate posted a few days ago, which went viral, in which he bragged about the conditions that they live in within prisons, and really sparking widespread criticism and outrage at the fact that, firstly, an inmate had a cell phone on him, as well as just raising concerns about access to contraband that inmates have, and whether officials are properly mitigating this challenge and what actually is happening within South Africa's prisons. So, as you can see here, officials lining up the hundreds of prisoners, inmates here, and checking their bodies, their persons, to check that they don't have any contraband on them. In some cases, as we saw with that social media video, the inmate having a cell phone, and so often reports about inmates having not just cell phones but illicit drugs and any other kind of contraband that they should not have with them.
Yeah.
And so I guess this is part of the Correctional Services Department's interventions in trying to perhaps become more transparent as to what's happening in our prisons, and trying to mitigate the challenge that they face in terms of the challenge of contraband within South Africa's prisons.
Yeah, Katlego, a little earlier I had a full conversation with the Commissioner of Correctional Services in studio, who was quite determined, saying that they are winning this war and they are going to deploy technology as well to try and make sure that even the devices that do find their way inside prisons, they end up not being able to be utilized, because he told me they're going to have some jamming signal equipment. Talk to us about whether this is a war that Correctional Services is winning, because in part it does put members of the public not so safe, because if prisoners are able to make calls outside, then it does place potential victims at risk.
That's right, Koli. I mean, this is the war that's being waged in, this scene that we're seeing here. You see the K9 unit in its full, I just want my colleague to just show you here the K9 unit in its full force, being able to sniff out any contraband. So on a physical level, you have, sniffer dogs trying to check that there aren't any, substances, illegal substances inside the prisons. But also, as you say, the Correctional Services Commissioner there also making an extended effort to try and see from a technological aspect if, even if an inmate has a cell phone, can the signal be jammed? And so that's the aim of the department. And so it's one that's debatable in terms of whether they're winning the war, but certainly that video that we all saw a few days ago of an inmate sparking widespread debate and an outcry, and clearly at least showing us that there is a war going on, or at least there's a fight, but perhaps the department is now making extra efforts to try and see if they can mitigate it.
Yeah. Then just talk to us, Katlego, about your own experiences. I mean, it's not often that members of the media are taken inside a prison. It's a place, by the way, that I fear very much. I wouldn't want to be seen inside there. What's it like to be inside a prison, much less to say at night?
Yeah. Yeah, I actually want to see if we can lead you inside, Xoli. Let's see if we can be able to go inside at the moment. Media still, some of our colleagues still outside, but I just want to see if we can get any images, at least by the doorway, just to show you what it looks like. Let's bring you this way, Xoli. Just leading you inside, Xoli, to see inside where prisoners sleep, their bunk beds here. Moving inside slowly where officials are actually checking the individual beds to see if there's any contraband. I just want to see if we can move in further.
Just want to see what is
Don't know if you can see, Xoli, but as you can see, an official there from the K9 unit up top, checking the individual beds, making sure, trying to check that there aren't any devices, drugs, money, anything that an inmate should not have with them. So you have the bodies being checked outside and the individual beds being checked. As you can see here, this is where inmates sleep, Xoli, and these are their beddings, their personal belongings actually being individually checked. At some point, we actually saw one of the inmates being called. I don't know if they had found something, but they called them in, perhaps to question them about something that they had seen. But that's the image for now.
The person in front of you, Katlego, what are they
Let's
carrying?
bring you out of here. Yes. It appears that they're carrying documents there, but nothing untoward yet. But those were documents that we saw there, Xoli. Just need to bring you back outside. I want to show you here where it seems that they actually have picked up something. Okay, as you can see, there are police cell phones. Cell phones being taken out of a bucket there. It seems that this is some of the contraband that they've found from the individual inmates. A laptop, it seems, PlayStation controls, and we see the official there taking out cables, chargers, electronic devices, as you can see, they're Xoli being taken out of that bucket. Indeed, contraband found there. And this goes back to what you were saying earlier on, Xoli, as to when people get phone calls from inmates, how does this happen? Well, here is the evidence that indeed cell phones, some prisoners have been keeping cell phones, coins, money, Rizla, so a number of goods and things perhaps smuggled into the prison that should not be kept by an inmate. And so, as we can see, that this goes back to that same video that we saw last week of an inmate on social media. How did that happen? Well, this is perhaps a sign of it.
Yeah, and you see there scissors. That could be considered a very dangerous weapon, Katlego. I noticed for a moment with the corner of my eye, I noticed Singabako Nxumalo, the spokesperson for the department, and I wonder whether you could have a word or two with him about, so when contraband like this is found in a prisoner's possession, what happens to those people? Because it does appear that there is severe punishment that comes their way.
Yes. Okay, let me bring in the commissioner here, Xoli, to just give us a word very quickly. My colleague Njabulo is just turning to face us. The commissioner is here just to have a conversation about that question you asked. Commissioner, thank you so much for your time. We see the raid happening here, some cell phones and electronic devices being brought out of a bucket. Just tell us what you are finding, Commissioner, and are you winning the fight against inmates having things that they shouldn't have?
I would say we are winning the fight because we are consistent in what we do. You see, we have chargers here. We found some cell phones, and we don't even have an hour having started with the operation. So it's an operation that we are going to do overnight. And when we finish, we would have cleaned this part of the correctional facility. You'll see this is a huge facility. Yeah.
So, Commissioner, how many inmates are we talking about in this facility, and how do you win such a thing to make sure that every single inmate doesn't have goods that they shouldn't have?
We have more than 5,000 inmates here to ensure that they should not be having this contraband or bringing them in. We do regular cell phone searches. We also search our own officials, by the way. We run a bagless society, which means when you are a member, you are not allowed to get into the facility with the bag. Okay. We search those that come from courts. But we have those lapses in the security system. We also have our own officials undermining the system, and we discipline them when we catch them. Even here now, as we do the search, some of the offenders are able to say, no, this thing that I have here that you found on me, this is how it came through, and then we follow up on those that are involved.
Commissioner, I wonder if there could be a message from your side as a department to communities, because obviously there's a path in which things are smuggled, and it could be from outside, it could be from people relatives, loved ones who know an inmate, in that not just perhaps inside, internally, but outside. Is there a call from your side to communities to adhere to the rules and to understand that it is wrong to smuggle goods to inmates?
Well, there are two aspects to it. The first aspect is that by smuggling as a member of the community or family to the offender, you are actually impacting on the record of that offender. You are impacting on the chances of this offender getting rehabilitated, corrected, and being eligible for parole. So you are actually worsening the conditions of this offender inside a correctional facility. That's the first aspect. Now, the second aspect, which for me is very unfortunate, is that you end up also joining the same offender. Because most of the members of the communities, when we catch them, when information comes out, we actually open criminal cases and they get arrested. So that's the part that pains me, because as a member of the community, you're not supposed to be engaged in criminal activities that worsens the overcrowding problem that we have currently in correctional facilities.
And I guess, Commissioner, another one is about, you mentioned rehabilitation. What are the challenges that you're facing as a department in trying to rehabilitate inmates? And obviously, as we see here, the smuggling of contraband. But do we see, because we see repeat offenders coming back to our prison systems, is rehabilitation actually happening?
It is happening. We have rehabilitation programs. That's why you will have, a number of offenders, qualifying for parole. By the way, our reoffending rate is less than 5% in terms of those offenders that qualify for parole. Now, the challenges that we face, number one, obviously, is budget cuts. Since the year, 2020, our budget has been cut with more than 11 billion. Okay. Secondly, is the capacity that we're supposed to have of officials that attend to rehabilitation programs, but also officials that make it conducive for those who attend to rehabilitation programs to be able to do their work.
Yes.
Now, for a psychologist, for instance, to sit with an offender, there has to be a security official. So we are limited in terms of the reach, in as much as we do implement these programs. We've got good examples of offenders that are in the parole system, that are doing well for themselves. They even have started enterprises. They're employing even members of the community. We follow them because it is important for us to make it a point that they are reintegrated into the society.
Yes. Now, Commissioner, what happens to an inmate when they're found with contraband? What's the steps that are taken?
Well, we charge them in terms of Section 23 of the Correctional Services Act. We go through the profile, we do a reassessment, we do a reclassification. So what that does, it puts you at a level where now you are going to receive special attention in terms of security arrangements around you as an offender, but also we take a re-look at the programs that you are undergoing, and we adjust them to deal with that behavior. But the problem is, as I've indicated, it impacts on your profile. So when you are now eligible for parole, when we're supposed to consider you for parole, we look at how you've behaved over time in a correctional facility, and in most instances, it works against you as an offender, because we then, instead of releasing you for parole, we refer you back for more rehabilitation programs because of the behavior.
Yeah. And I guess, Commissioner, in terms of the inmate we saw days ago posting on social media, is it disappointing from your side? Were you, I guess, as this department, really just disappointed that that happened? And I guess the widespread criticism from the public that it did happen, and how an inmate was able to get a cell phone and post on social media and even have an account with thousands of followers. Was it a disappointment from your side, disappointing feeling?
It was beyond disappointment. I mean, we were enraged by that, because an offender is not supposed to be, preoccupying himself or herself with those types of, activities. They are supposed to be attending to rehabilitation and correctional programs. And that's why, upon getting that information, we attended to that offender. We took away the cell phone. And beyond that, obviously we charged him. I've explained the process. But beyond that, at my level, I had to address the management of Goodwood. I also had to address the staff in Goodwood and indicate to them that because of that incident, for a considerable amount of time at a national level, we are going to attend to Goodwood, because it shows that, one, there are management problems. There, two, it shows that there are serious security breaches in terms of the implementation of or complying with our standard operating procedures. So, but as I have indicated, we are continuing with a cleanup operation like this one.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. We'll leave it there. Thank you so much. Clearly, you've heard it there from the National Correctional Services Commissioner, Mr. Tobakale, there explaining that they will continue with such raids, and obviously finding quite a lot of contraband here this evening, and really the Correctional Services Department looking to ramp up these kinds of searches and operations, because quite clearly disappointed by that inmate who did post on social media, really outlining a bigger problem of contraband within the correctional services facilities in this country.